Hello and welcome to my motorhome. In this video I am going to explain to you some of the differences between travel to the European Union as from the 1st of January 2021, and these differences are quite major. They refer not just to people travelling by RVs, which of course is a tiny minority. These rules apply to everyone with a British passport, and therefore of all the videos I've done this year, this could be the most important one to actually listen to. So I've made one or two notes, and I shall be consulting with them from time to time. So in 2020, Britain was in a transit period, if you like. So it was out of the European Union, but the transition was happening, so the rules stayed the same. But this period comes to an end at the end of December 2020. So the first thing you're going to have to consider is your passport. To get to be able to travel to the European Union, your passport must have at least 6 months validity on it. This is quite normal when you go to many places. If you wanted to go to the United States, I believe it's the same. For Russia as well, it's the same, and many other countries. So it's nothing unusual about that. But there is a case which you want to consider. In the UK, it was often the case that when you applied for a new passport, people were encouraged to do it early, and you would be given grace for the period of time that you applied for a new passport. So if you applied for your new passport 9 months, up to 9 months before it ran out, you would be given the time. The grace that would be added onto the time that you didn't have to apply for a new passport. So if on the 1st of January, for example, for argument's sake, you applied for a new passport, your passport was going to run out on the 1st of September, your passport would be valid for 10 years from the 1st of September. That is now ended. The UK government stopped giving this period of grace. I believe it was in September 2018, but that means to say there are still passports in circulation which are valid up until 2028, but they will not be considered. As far as entry to the European Union is concerned, their passport, it's 10 years from the issue date. So for argument's sake, it could even be that you've got 9 months grace, some 10 or 9.5 years ago, and your passport is valid until the end of March 2022, for argument's sake. However, your 9 months won't be considered taken into consideration, and 6 months validity must be added on. You could indeed arrive at the airport and find that the airline will not carry you because your passport is not valid. That's something I believe that not many people actually know about. So 6 months on the passport at least. Now there's another point which I think is pretty important as well, and that is that you will henceforth be allowed 90 days in the European Union in any 180-day period. So you could say, well, I'm going on the January, February, March, I'll go then 30th of March or 31st of March, you have to leave, or whenever 90 days is, then you've got 3 months out, then you've got 3 months back, but it's 90 days though, not 3 months. And so there are periods of the year, of course 365 days in the year, so you can only spend 180 of them in the European Union. So that is something you'd have to consider, particularly if you're thinking of doing a long trip, which is, for example, what people do in my area, which is motorhomes. So they tend not to go away for the weekend or a week or something like that. They'll be doing long tours. Well, you have to take that one now into consideration. The way around that could be that you have to register in a EU country. Where you actually register from, I haven't got a clue. I suppose if you went to a campsite, you'd have to do it from there. I really don't know as things stand at present. Another thing is you're going to have to stand in the queue with people from third countries, and they can start asking you questions such as they might ask you how much money you've got on you, how you intend to work, the sort of things you get asked, for example, when you go to the United States. So for those who've been to the United States, you'll find it quite similar to that. Now, visas will be issued, but maybe from 2022, might be later. So that we don't actually know that one yet. Now, one thing I ought to point out is that the days of nipping over to France and filling up your van full of cheap booze and cigarettes are over. There will be duty free. It'll continue to be what it is for other third countries, and that in the case of alcohol is 4 litres of spirits. I believe it's 4 anyway, I might be wrong on that one. 9 litres of sparkling wine. I think it's 18 litres of still wine, or the normal wine, 16 litres of beer. It's done on the proof how much alcohol's in it, and you can bring up to around 430 euros worth of things brought abroad within the European Union back into the UK without paying tax, and you'd have to pay 2 types of tax. It'd be VAT plus import duties, and the import duties vary all the time, and VAT does sort of change from time to time, but at the moment it's stable. But you'll have those 2 things, 200 cigarettes, and I think it's 100 grams of rolling tobacco. I can't quite remember that one actually, but anyway, that's what it is now. Please check those things. So first of all, they can change it too. I could have got them wrong. So next thing to consider is the European Health Card, the EHIC card, which, for example, I've used, and many other people have used. At the time I'm doing this, there is no agreement on the European Health Insurance Card between the United Kingdom and the European Union. I suspect that one may actually come in, because of course this predates the European Union. There was, I think, was it called a Form E 111, I think we had before, something like that. And but one thing this will mean is that as many travel insurance claims were made actually on the EHIC card, they will no longer be made on that card. So the travel insurers will clearly put the insurance up. So that will go up to take to compensate. So that is another unfortunate thing. There is your driving license as well. Now, your driving license, you may find that the UK license no longer accepted, so that the driving license, you might have to get one of these international driving permits. Now, I did have one of them. I got it from an AA office. I think then I paid £3 for it, but then that was 28 years ago. So I'm sure that the AA and the RAC and all these other post office and all these other places, I think it costs £5.50 now actually, but that is something you will have to get. And on the subject of driving, you're going to need insurance, because your insurance no longer will cover you for trips to the European Union, probably no longer cover you, and so instead you're going to have to get what's called a green card. You may remember them. We used to have to get them. Now, insurers may provide them free of charge. They may not. You might be able to get one for 6 months or 3 months. That depends on what you actually negotiate with your insurer, but I can't see them giving long-term ones away, including that in the policy. That's a pretty good excuse to put things up. There will be changes actually in how flights are done, but I think that's a bit outside the scope of what I do want to talk about. I'm sure the travel links though will remain the same, the ferries will be running the same and all the rest of it, but bear in mind the lack of customs facilities in the United Kingdom will add considerable time to your journey, but probably nowhere near as much time as they're going to add to the poor lorry drivers. So while you're stuck in customs for a couple of hours, just think of how long the poor lorry drivers are going to be stuck there. Now, the European Union about 3 years ago managed to force mobile operators, which are already multinational companies, to do something about their roaming, and so roaming charges were considerably reduced. There is a certain amount, but you get a free allowance, and as things stand at the moment, there are no plans. I went through the EE's website, I went to Three's website, GIFGAF, whom I've got, O2. None of these companies had plans to introduce roaming charges, but what I suspect they'll do, because they'll use this as an excuse, they'll come up with some cheaper offer, but that won't include Europe or something like that, and there will be a huge charge for travelling, and then they'll gradually introduce things like that, and it'll no longer be a cheaper offer, it'll be the same standard offer. That's what I suspect they'll do. That's only a feeling. I might be completely wrong, and I apologise in advance if I'm completely wrong, and I also apologise in advance for giving them ideas, but I'm sure they thought of that themselves. So, what can you do? Oh, sorry, another thing is the dog, or the cat, or the tiger, whatever you got. Pets, for pets, there'll be far more administration as well, taking them across borders, and with the rabies vaccinations and all the rest of it. But that will add also a lot of administration. I think you're going to have to check that one out on the government website, because I'm not entirely certain what it means, because I do realise that there has to be sort of blood tests which have then to be sent to EU approved laboratories, and then they'll come back and say if your dog, your tiger or whatever can actually go to France for the weekend. So that gives a sort of a rough breakdown on things, the changes that you can do. Now, the only way I can see about it is if you want to sort of avoid these things happening, and if you're somebody who's thinking of spending a lot of time in another country, and that is to actually register yourself in another country, and you may apply for residency in another country, and that will obviously have all sorts of problems attached to that as well, but that may be that's the only way around it that I can see so far. And obviously you're going to have to prove that you are actually resident, and this could involve all sorts of other nasty things such as taxes being paid, etc. So that's a breakdown. If I've missed anything out, write it down below. If I've got anything wrong, write it down below. And but thanks for listening, and all the best.